Right, as you can see guys, the fish is there, right in the pads. I saw his tail then. It's that time of year again. I'm excited to say I'm going on my annual road trip and you guys are coming with me. For the 4th year running, I'm meeting up with my mate Matt for a week's angling, and this one's set to be a bit special. From what I've seen in photos, the first venue is the most beautiful little estate lake I've ever seen, with some truly special carp. We've got 3 days. It's not going to be easy, but if we're not successful, we'll definitely learn something for next time. As one thing's for certain, this trip isn't going to be a one-off. I think I've found paradise and I want to spend more time here over the next year or so.
Hiya, I'm booked on the 8:30. Thank you. Yes. Thank you, thanks very much.
It's a beautiful morning and I'm excited to get going. 3 nights to make it happen. If not, we're hitting the River Avon after this for part 2 of the series, and then the 3rd video will be a mystery venue. It's always exciting going to new venues, but some are more exciting than others. Just look at this place.
Mind's racing again. There's a spin in my head. Everything I feel is gonna drown on Black Hawk Avenue. I'm sipping whiskey on the Mississippi, having me 1/5 of the time. I'm drowning in the bottle, your sweet gets harder to swallow. I'm mumbling my prayers to the moon. I'll be sober soon.
I never win a coin toss. Get in there, that's the right result.
We picked all that we had, snuffed my last cigarette in a
Well, hello and welcome to the 2021 road trip series. If you're new to my channel, please remember to subscribe because this is a 3-part series. I'm away for a week fishing and we've got 3 different venues, so it's going to be 3 different videos, all coming within a couple of weeks of each other. So subscribe so you don't miss that. I'm really excited. We've arrived at the first venue, an absolutely beautiful old estate lake. Only small, 2.5 acres I think, but there's some amazing fishing here. There's a 40-pound mirror and an upper 30 common as well. And I'm really excited. I've got 3 nights ahead of me on this venue. And it's not easy, you know, it's not stuffed with fish, but the fish that are in here are all really beautiful. So it's going to be an exciting one, but maybe slightly challenging one as well. But I got here about sort of 10:30, 11. I met my mate Matt, he's away with me for the week as well. You might have seen him on previous road trips on my channel. And I met the bailiff here and he sort of walked around with me and talked me through a few spots and a few swims. And then Matt arrived and we sort of had another walk around, as you always should at a new venue. And we've decided to fish on the dam wall. There's an island you can fish off and it's got a couple of beautiful wood chip swims and nice turf and a little lodge over there and everything. It looks really cosy, but that goes over the top of a load of weed, and I figured if we were hooking fish and they're going in the weed, it's just not the one really for landing them, especially at night and stuff. So we've come on the far side of the lake from the car park on the dam wall, and the spots that you'd fish from the island you can kind of fish from here, but a bit more safely because you're fishing the other side of the weed, so we've got a better chance of landing the fish. Even though it's not quite as sociable and not quite as comfy, but you know, we're here to catch fish, so we don't really care about the old fancy swim over that side. So yeah, we've got 3 rods out each, and it's the first evening now. I'm going to be talking you through all my tactics, rigs, bait and spot choices and everything tomorrow. But for tonight, I'm just going to be taking in the atmosphere, enjoying being here and trying to relax a little bit. And hopefully there'll be a fish or 2 over the next 3 nights that we're here. So stay tuned guys, we've got lots of tips on the way and I'll show you a bit more about the lake and obviously talk you through my spots and tactics and everything like that. So stay tuned, I hope you enjoy the video. I hope we have some fish to show you because that's what it's all about, isn't it? And yeah, fingers crossed for a good week away fishing. Right, good morning guys. It's about 8:30 now. I've actually been awake since about 5 o'clock this morning. There was a lot of rain last night. It was really noisy, there was a bit of thunder and lightning and stuff. And I struggled to sleep, as I often do on the first night of a trip away. Just the anticipation and the excitement and, you know, the expectations of maybe catching a fish. It's hard to settle, and then obviously the noise of the rain and everything. So yeah, I've not had loads of sleep, but it's fine, you know. I quite like being up early and watching the water and, you know, walking around sort of trying to see if you can see any fish or any fizzing or anything like that. But nothing's happened on the rods, unsurprisingly, you know, the first night on a new water. Didn't have a lot to go on really. The bailiff put us on a few spots, but we didn't really see any fish. So we just kind of found some sort of nice clear areas in some likely looking spots really. A little bit later on I will talk you through my spots and kind of point out where each rod is. But yeah, not a lot's happened and there's not a lot to report really, but it's a nice place to be. It's still quite overcast and a little bit drizzly this morning, so really good conditions for a bite. And we are still in kind of bite time, that early morning period at this time of year. I think is the absolute best time to get a bite. So I'm going to be leaving the rods out till probably lunchtime. And in the meantime, just keeping an eye on the water. And if I see fish regularly showing in an area, I'll be investigating it with a bare lead, you know, and see if I can find a clear spot there and maybe move one of the rods tonight. Because, you know, we have only got 2 nights left. It seems like a lot of time, but actually it's not really, you know, we want to make something happen. So putting in the effort makes all the difference, really. So I've got a bacon sandwich and a coffee to enjoy now. But then a little bit later on, I'm going to show you the rigs that I'm using and my bait mix. And then, as I said, we'll talk you through the spots and stuff as well, so you know a bit about what we're doing. As always, guys, if there's any comments, any questions you'd like to ask, put them in the comments down below. I always try and get back to people, at least for the first week that a video goes live. I'm happy to help with any advice, any problems you're having with your own fishing, you know, please ask questions. Or if you just want to, you know, give us some love for the channel, you know, it's been a while since I've done a video. I've been busy with a lot of work stuff nowadays, doing a lot of videography work for a few people. I am going to try and keep the videos coming for you guys as well, so stay tuned on the channel. And as I said, this is a 3-part road trip, so there is going to be 2 more videos after this one as well, so hopefully there'll be some fish along the way. We've got some barbel fishing, which is something I do once a year or something. And then the 3rd venue on this trip, we don't actually know where we're going to end up yet. We've got about 6 venues on the list. We're going to ring around in a couple of days' time and try and find where we can get on. So that'll be exciting, sort of the unknown at the moment. We don't know where we're going to be. So yeah, stay tuned for that as well, guys. But yeah, I'm going to have some breakfast now and a coffee and stuff and just try and wake up a little bit. And then I'll talk you through some tactics. Right, as you can see and probably hear, it's raining quite a lot now, so it's making filming quite tricky obviously, but I thought I'd take this opportunity to talk you through my spots that I've chosen and kind of why I've chosen them. So when I got here, as I said, I met the bailiff, Ben, I think he's called, nice guy, and he sort of talked me through where a lot of the fish come from and where he likes to fish, which is very decent of him. So what I've done is, on his advice, I've got my left-hand rod, this one, going down into the corner down here, sort of level with that overhanging tree just there. And I actually, I could use my baiting pole from the margin down there to bait over the top, so I didn't have to make too much disturbance. You know, it was just an underarm flick and then walk back with the rod and then baiting pole over the top. And yeah, I've seen a little bit of activity around that rod, so it's looking promising actually, but nothing's happened as yet. Anyway, the middle rod goes off a bit further along that same margin. You see you've got the lilies here, and I'm actually fishing just on the left-hand edge of the lilies, just there. There's an overhanging oak tree there, and the lilies kind of finish, and then there's this overhanging oak tree just at the end of them. And it was really clear under there when I cast to it. I managed to sort of cast pretty low and hard and get it under the oak tree and just on the edge of the lilies, and I was really happy with the cast actually. And when it went down with a bit of a crack there as well, so that's a real good spot. And the lilies have been twitching and stuff, so there's definitely fish about in there. And then my right hand rod is going over to the far margin over there, sort of in line with that tree. There's a weed bed just off the margin over there. And what I did was I walked round with a bare lead on the rod and just around it, just over that weed, and just dragged it about a bit just to see if it was clear. And then I sort of chucked a bit of bait in on that spot, and then I could cast over from this side to there once I clipped off. It's about 80 yards or so. And what I figured was, because that's an island, the fish kind of spend quite a bit of time behind it, and you can't really fish behind it, so it's a bit of sanctuary for them. But I figured they would come out at some point, patrolling along that weed and the margins, and hopefully come across my bait there. So that's my thinking behind that one. I also thought if people fish on that island quite a bit, there might be a bit of bait goes in there, where they sort of take the boilies off the rigs and that sort of thing and chuck it in the margins. And any leftover bait at the end of the session they might chuck in there as well. And the fish are probably used to finding bits and bobs of bait over there, so that was my thinking behind that one. But I've also seen in this weed out here, there's a big sort of horseshoe of weed all around there. I've actually seen the odd little bit of fish activity out there. So I'm thinking I might, a bit later on, just have a lead around with a bare lead and see if I can find a spot there for moving one of the rods. Because there's no point sticking to spots if they're not producing, so I might move one of the rods onto the weed where I've seen a few fish and stick with the other two. But I'll update you on that later if I decide to do that. But yeah, the rain is just clearing up again now. We just had a big storm come through. But yeah, when it stops raining, I'll talk you through my rigs and the bait, and then hopefully we'll have a chance of a fish a bit later on. Right, as you can see guys, fish is there, right in the pads. So his tail there. There's a comment. Well guys, it's the second morning, and as you would have seen there, I'm absolutely gutted. I've just lost a fish in the pads. I was filming a time lapse actually, and the rod actually went whilst the camera was rolling, so you might have been able to see that. I'll try and get a freeze frame from the footage as well. But the rod absolutely wrapped round underneath the left-hand rod, and it was quite hard to get it off the pod actually. It was all kind of jammed in there, but I managed to get the rod out, and I could feel the fish kicking, but it just wasn't moving out of the pad. So quite quickly we decided to get the boat, and Matt very kindly got the boat for me whilst I was kind of holding the rod, and I managed to get myself over there to the pads by sort of winding slowly and pulling myself across. And yeah, I was right above the fish, and it was still on, it was thrashing around. And it was wrapped around sort of a few stems of lilies, so I decided it would probably be a good idea to try and grab the line and sort of work my way down, sort of unwrapping it, pulling the fish up. And I literally got it to the point where I could see the lead out the water. So just the hook link was in the water with the fish on the other end, and it was under a few stems. And yeah, I tried to get the net under it and sort of pull it at the same time, and the net wouldn't get in the water because of all the lilies in the way, and it was really awkward. And yeah, unfortunately the hook's pulled out, so I'm absolutely gutted because that's my first chance, and maybe only chance on this session. It's not an easy lake. I think there's only 40 fish in here. And I did see the fish. It was an upper double common, I think, possibly 20 pounder, I don't know, so it wasn't one of the big ones, so at least I can take that away from it. And at least I know my bait works, my spots are good, well, at least that spot's good, and my rig and presentation, everything was spot on as well, so I've got to take positives from it. But I am really, really gutted at the moment, as you can imagine. You know, first time on a new lake, it's an absolutely stunning place, and to catch one would have been the icing on the cake. But unfortunately it wasn't to be on that particular chance, but we've still got 24 hours, we're leaving tomorrow morning. So I'm going to go back on the same tactics, same spots and everything, and just hope that I get another chance in the next 24 hours. At the moment we've got overcast conditions, but the forecast is saying thunderstorms in the next couple of hours, so I don't know how much filming I'm going to be able to get done for you guys, but I'll try my best. And obviously if anything happens with a fish, then we'll show you that as well. Right guys, so I just wanted to briefly take a moment to talk you through the tactics for this session. We've had really off and on weather today. It was really rainy this morning, then it's been really hot and I've had to put my cap on and sun cream and stuff. And now it's kind of drizzling again a little bit, and yeah, I don't know what it's going to do next, to be honest with you. But so I've had a recast of all my rods now, and I just thought I'd show you what I'm using. So it's quite a silty lake and it's quite weedy and choddy on the bottom, so I'm using pop-ups, which I quite often like to do. And that is my bog standard Withy pool rig there, one of Steve Renyard's creations, and if you follow my channel you'll know that I use that a lot in my fishing. I just like how easy it is to tie and how effective it is, and yeah, it's caught me a lot of fish, that one. So with the pool rig with a white amino ester pop-up on it, the bottom's quite sort of silty and dark. I wanted something to kind of stand out over my free bait, so hopefully the fish can see it. It's quite murky water here as well, so you know, I just wanted something that kind of takes their fancy, really, you know, catches their eye as they're swimming past. So that's what I've got on all three rods, and I've got that over a mix of bait, so I'll talk you through that next. Right, so this is the bait mix that I'm using on this session. As you can see, there's a lot of different types of baits and sizes in there, just to kind of keep the fish guessing, keep them grubbing around, and hopefully keep them in the swim a little bit longer, so they're not just coming in and mopping it up and disappearing. So I've got 10mm amino marine boilies in there, that's the little red ones you can see. And then there's some 15 and 18mm Vitamino boilies, they're the black ones. And I've actually crumbed up a few of those as well. And then in with that, I've got Cheshire Particles Micro Mix, which is a load of small seeds. And I've got hemp and maples as well, which is another sort of mix that they do. And it's a really nice combination because you've got all different sizes and all different flavours and types of bait. So, you know, again, keeping the fish guessing. And then to this, I've added a little bit of salt just to kind of spruce it up, as you do. And then also, I've added some of the Pure Bait Concepts Pure Marine Extract liquid as well, which again is quite salty, but also it's got loads and loads of aminos and attractors in there, which should sort of leach out onto the lake bed and keep the fish rooting around even after the particles have actually been eaten. So it sort of gives you a bit longer to hopefully get a bite and also brings the fish in from further away because it kind of, you know, it spreads out on the bottom. So that's my mix really, fairly simple. I've not over flavoured it, you know, I've just put some natural ingredients together. And I've basically put about 1 scoop over each rod. I was told, you know, just fish for a bite on this lake. It's not an easy lake by any means, even though it's quite small, there's not many fish in here. And you're just basically trying to sort of find clear spots and fish for a bite. I've basically put them out again now, and I've got all 3 rods out. And we are going to leave them out for the next 24 hours or so until tomorrow sort of lunchtime. So yeah, let's see what happens, guys. I'm fairly confident still. I've seen fish near my rods, kind of behind the lilies and behind the weed that I'm fishing up to and stuff. I actually moved my right hand rod, so I'm going to talk to you about that spot now and why I've done it. So my right hand rod was fishing over to the island margin over here. Now when I wound in at about lunchtime today to go use the lure and, you know, refresh the rods and everything, that rod was the only one that was covered in weed when I wound in. The other 2 rods, which are on the lilies and in the corner to my left, they were both perfectly clear and the baits were intact and everything, and you know, I'm still quite confident that those spots will produce if the fish come along. But that one on the far margin was really weeded up and didn't give me confidence. You know, the weed was like black, sort of rotting, smelly stuff as well. So I've come away from that spot now, and where I've been seeing fish in the weed, kind of towards the back of the lily pads, I've actually found a spot on the edge of that weed. So I'll just try and show you. So you can see there, guys, we've got the pads here, and my middle rod is on the left hand side, just under the oak tree that's on the left hand side of the pads. But I actually saw a fish show right here this morning, and there's been fish showing sort of behind this weed as well, in that area there. So what I've done is I had a lead around earlier with a bare lead, and I found a spot which is about there, which was nice and clear. It went down with a good drop, and you can pull it back a good sort of 2 or 3 foot before it goes into Canadian pondweed, and that's a nice weed to be fishing near to. You know, there's lots of natural food in it, and it attracts the carp, and it's, you know, it wasn't like rotting or anything. It was nice and green and fresh. So I found that clear spot, which is just there, and it's sort of before you get to that weed you can see, and then in a channel before you get to weed this side as well. So I figured the fish would come along this edge of this weed here and go over that spot before they sort of go in behind the pads and stuff. So I'm quite confident, and I've actually, like I said, I saw one show about there this morning, and they've been showing behind there. So I'm hoping that tonight maybe a fish will go over that spot and hopefully find the bait. So same tactics on that one, you know, a little pop-up with your pool rig with that particle and boiling mix. Something that I thought was worth mentioning, guys, was how I'm achieving good presentation with these pop-up rigs. So rather than just casting out a bare hook, you know, and the rig, I'm actually using PVA to form a bit of a stringer. I know I'm using their pop-ups, but I've actually got a 3-bait stringer that goes around it. It just protects it as it falls through the water, and then it leaves 3 baits just nicely around it on the bottom. So I'm going to show you how I do that now. So the PVA that I'm using is from Catchmore PVA, a new company that my friend has actually started, and he's very kindly said that anyone who's subscribed to my channel can get 10% discount. So what I've done is put a link below to the website, and the discount is down there as well. So if you follow that link, if you want to buy any PVA, you can save yourself a bit of money. So it's really good quality stuff, you know, different size funnel web type stuff like this. They also do solid bags, PVA tape, and they do solid bag stems for your inline leads as well, which allows you to loop your ready tied solid bags on as well. So really good product that is as well, and I think they're expanding the range all the time. So Catchmore PVA, go check them out, and don't forget to use the discount code to save yourself some money. So we're using the narrow sized mesh for this, and in the bucket down here I've got some Vitamino boilies, which I've treated with liquid food and prep powder and a little bit of pure marine extract as well, so they're sort of pimped really nicely. Obviously I can't use the particle mix and stuff because it's really wet and it would melt the PVA, so I'm using these boilies which are nicely dried, and they've got that coating on the outside, so I'm going to put 3 of those in, and then I'm going to tie a bag in a sort of a triangle shape like that, but really, really tight. And the idea behind that is, I'll show you in a minute. So, got a nice tight triangle shape there. And we're going to leave a bit of a fuse as well. So between the 2 knots you've got about 1 inch. So we cut that, and then so what you got is a triangle there. Now what you need to do is try and wriggle it so that they're in a straight line. So there you go, that's those in a straight line there. Now what that does is it puts it under a lot of tension, so when it explodes under the water, the boilies will actually fly off in different directions and leave a little scattering around your rig on the bottom. So rather than just having a stringer where they're all 3 together on the bottom like that, they actually will spread, you know, 2 or 3 inches away from the rig and leave the rig on its own with these just dotted around it. And what I also do is I use that fuse there to wrap around the hook to make sure that the bait doesn't spin around. So that goes out and it's nice and aerodynamic, so it casts really well. And then it just protects the hook because you've wrapped the fuse around it, but also it gives you a little scatter of baits around your rig. Right guys, final evening of the session. Still recovering from losing that fish earlier. I'm really quite upset about that. I was chatting to the bailiff on the phone and he said that quite often guys will come for a week and blank, or they might only have 1 fish. So to have a fish on my second morning and lose it is quite upsetting really. But I have got all 3 rods out, freshly baited. Little bit of bait on each spot again, not much, you know, literally just a couple of little bits and bobs, you know, not very much at all, just enough to kind of freshen the area up a little bit. I'm not trying to feed them, I'm just trying to sort of entice a bite really. So all 3 rods are out for the evening. It's cider o'clock now. Me and Matt are just going to have a couple of ciders I think and a bit of dinner, and keep everything crossed that we're going to get lucky on the last night. Matt did have a go at stalking one earlier. He'd seen a little bit of fizzing in the corner to his right, and he went down there with a few pellets and stuff, and he actually saw a ghostie kind of swimming away from the spot. So he took the opportunity to get a rig in there and put a few more pellets over the top, and actually they were fizzing on top of that. But unfortunately they didn't pick up his rig, and he's kind of given up on that now, and he's got his rods back out for the night, same as me. So, you know, we've tried everything on this session. We've found good spots, no weed on them. We've had to combat the crayfish, sort of using bits of plastic now. So I've got my pop-ups on still, but I've got a bit of plastic on there as well, just in case the pop-up gets eaten. The little bit of plastic corn on top will just help make sure there's something on the hook still if a fish comes in. So it's a bit dodgy, you know. We've got crayfish, not the easiest conditions. It's been hot and cold and raining and then sunny, and I think the fish are a bit all over the place, so we'll have to wait and see, guys. Last night, fingers crossed, and if not, we've got part 2 of the road trip coming up where we're going to be going fishing a river, so I'm looking forward to that as well. But yeah, there's still plenty of time to get a fish on this session, so stay tuned and we'll see what happens. Well guys, unfortunately we've come to the end of the session here at this beautiful estate lake and nothing has happened for us. I did lose that fish and that's going to stay with me for a while, I think, because I think that was my only chance. I've still got the rods out, but I am going to have to start packing up now, and I'll be leaving the rods to the very last minute, so there's always a chance, but yeah, it feels like time is slipping away. But we are going on to the next venue now, which is going to be the River Avon. We're going to be going for barbel and carp on the River Avon. We've got a couple of days there before we move on to our third venue and final venue for the road trip. So make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, so you don't miss those other videos. And I'm looking forward to the next bit of this trip, so hopefully you are too, guys. So I'll see you guys in the next part of the road trip series on the River Avon. So until then, take care and tight lines.